Listen to the JT Sports Podcast on all podcasting platforms and leave a 5-star review.
UCLA beat Utah 42-32. In my opinion, this win legitimized UCLA as one of the best teams in college football right now, because this was their second consecutive win against a ranked opponent. Because remember, the week before this game, they had just beat Washington. Now, although Washington just lost this past weekend, they got upset by Arizona State, you still have to give kudos to UCLA being able to get that win. And then the week after that, they beat Utah in a game that not too many people picked them to win. And it's funny because I said that Utah was the best team in the Pac-12 earlier into the offseason. And then later on, I said that Utah was my pick to win the Pac-12 because I felt they were not only the most talented team in this conference, but the most physical team in this conference. And even after they lost to Florida, week 1, I still stood by that statement. And going into this game, I was feeling pretty confident in Utah's ability to win this game. I thought that Utah was going to be better up front and they were going to be the more physical football team. And boy, was I wrong. Completely, absolutely, horribly wrong. I mean, you talk about physical domination up front. I mean, UCLA was unstoppable on the ground in this game. And a big key going into this matchup for me was Utah's run defense, because they didn't look good against Florida. Oregon State had success on the ground against this defense. However, you still were giving them the benefit of a doubt just because of the talent they had. Well, the talent that UCLA had at running back and on the offensive line was way too much for Utah's defense to handle, because Zach Charbonnet had 22 carries for 198 rushing yards. He was averaging 9 yards per carry, people. And he also had a touchdown. And UCLA now is 11-0 when Charbonnet rushes for 100 yards or more. And then, not to mention, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I think it's fair to say that he quietly has played himself into the Heisman conversation. If he wasn't already in it, he should be in after this performance. I mean, he was 18-23. He threw 4 touchdown passes. He threw for 299 yards through the air. He only had 1 interception, which it came pretty much in garbage time. And the few remaining seconds in the fourth quarter was a pick 6. But he played well in this game. I mean, he was accurate. He made good decisions with the football. He was dynamic with his legs, being able to keep plays alive. I mean, Dorian Thompson-Robinson has really put it all together. And this team is really dangerous. Now, the reason why I don't want to call them a dark horse playoff contender yet is because I want to see them get through Oregon, and then I will make my decision. Because with these Pac-12 teams, yes, they are really talented. However, they end up kind of choking up late in the stretch. You will have some games where you'll have a really good Pac-12 team lose to a really bad Pac-12 team. It's just a really inconsistent conference. So I want to see what UCLA does against Oregon. They play them in the next couple of weeks. They get a bye week. Oregon also is coming off a bye week when they play that game as well. So both teams are going to be going in well rested. Many people think Oregon is the most talented team in the Pac-12, talent-wise. I probably would say it's the tie between them and USC. But UCLA, I mean, this team is really good offensively. They scored on 8 out of 11 of their offensive possessions in this game. Utah's defense had absolutely no answer, and neither did Washington's defense. And if you are somebody who still doesn't believe in UCLA football and you want to say, well, JT, I mean, they still don't have a really good defense. I mean, their defense probably isn't great talent-wise. However, this defense shows up in big moments. They get big stops when they matter the most. I mean, Cam Rising threw an interception in the first quarter that led to a 97-yard touchdown drive by UCLA's offense that got them kick-started and got them going. And this defense also forced a fumble in the fourth quarter, which eventually changed the momentum and won the game for UCLA pretty much. It pretty much sealed the victory for the Bruins at that point, because then Utah couldn't really get anything else going after that. So UCLA's defense forced 2 momentum-altering turnovers in this game. And the reason why I say momentum-altering is because you'll have turnovers and then you'll have momentum-altering turnovers, which are turnovers that tilts the game in your team's favor. You see, momentum-altering turnovers are turnovers that lead to your team going on a run, scoring points. And then you have your normal turnovers, which you get the ball back, but your offense doesn't do anything with it. UCLA's offense was just too much for Utah's defense to handle. I mean, Utah's defense needs drastic improvement. Because you know who they play this week? USC is coming into town. And we know USC can put up a lot of points. And we saw what USC did against Washington State. Washington State, who has a really good defense. So, for UCLA, you have to give them a round of applause for this win. This was a physical beatdown, in my opinion. And yes, Utah did have success. It's not like UCLA blew out Utah. However, it seems like once UCLA really got going and they scored their second touchdown of the game, you just knew that Utah, unless their offense was able to play mistake-free football, was not going to be able to win this game. And I think for the rest of the season, when it comes to Utah and games where they match up against some of the best teams in this conference, like they're about to do this weekend against USC, the only way I can really see them winning those games is if they're able to be flawless on offense. And that probably would involve them running the ball a lot with Tavion Thomas, because he had a pretty good game, but Cam Rising didn't. And Cam Rising was the large factor in Utah losing this game. He didn't take care of the ball, which is uncharacteristic because he's normally really good when it comes to ball security. And then on top of that, man, he just, I don't know. And when you look at the stats, he didn't have a bad game statistically. It's just the turnovers were really bad. But for Utah, I'm really interested in seeing what adjustments they're going to try to make on defense, because that USC offense is probably looking at this game and they're licking their chops right now because they're probably thinking they're about to go off. Utah needs some help when it comes to that defense. I mean, the run defense was really bad. The pass defense has kind of been an issue this season, even though it hasn't really occurred as much until this game because they didn't really play a good quarterback until DTR after that loss against Florida. So they didn't really get tested in the secondary. Well, they got tested in this game, and that secondary has a lot of improvement that they have to make. And every time Utah plays a team that has a really good offense, This defense cannot get a stop to save their lives. You remember what happened last year in the Rose Bowl against Ohio State? Utah's defense has to do better. If Utah is going to break the ceiling and reach that next level as a program, they got to do better defensively. And you don't have to have a top 10 defense or elite defense to win. All you need is a defense that's capable of getting key stops in big moments. And that's something that Utah's defense has not been able to do over the last couple of seasons. And that's why right now they still are a team that has yet to crack that ceiling of getting into the college football playoffs.